A Holy Matrimony. Safiyah was an educated and pious princess living in a castle outside Medina. It was called Khaybar and belonged to the Jews, with abundant crops and gardens around. As Muslims grew in number and power, the Jews were threatened and started to conspire, and that escalated into a war at last.
Because of the law of opportunity cost, sometimes tension is not avoidable. Sometimes there's a plague that is costing lives. In a world of limitation, conflict is certain, but it's the person's approach which makes the difference. You can tell right away if it's done with compassion or if it's out of rage and a desire for vengeance.
The castle was besieged before it fell. The Jews were defeated and their leaders were killed, including Safiyah's husband and father, and also her brother and uncle in a day.
Though one does everything to avoid a battle, once it is underway, it won't be pretty. Then the question is to minimize the suffering of all, the mission of Siddhartha and all the Buddhas.
The women were captured as part of the spoils, but the case of Safiyah was the most dramatic. She was a princess last night, today a slave.
Thus do we flip the days of people.
As they took her to the Prophet, they walked her past the bodies of the soldiers from her clan who died. So intense was the scene that she almost expired. The Prophet was grieved when he learned what they did and started rebuking the commander in charge.
Have you no mercy? Where is your heart? Show mercy to others to receive it from God.
Then the Muslims gathered around the Prophet, waiting for him to distribute the booty. The Prophet glanced at Safiyah and noticed how depressed, distressed, and despaired she was. He said,
My share of the spoils shall be Princess Safiyah, and I set her free.
He paused for a bit to give his companions time to reflect and pick up the message. They were sensitive and smart enough to realize that the Prophet is a model to follow. They said in unison,
We too shall release the right that we have over the spoils.
In Safiyah's honor, her entire tribe was spared from bondage and granted freedom. But still, her status and husband were lost. So the Prophet proposed to her on the spot. Look at this world, how unstable it is. From princess to slave to the queen of the world.
Thus do we flip the days of people.
When the army was about to return to Medina, they brought a camel for Safiyah to ride. The Prophet held out his thigh for her.
After all, a savior is a mounting block. He gives you a vehicle and shows you the way. But you are the one who must take on the task to mount on the ride and embark on the path.
Safiyah was embarrassed by so much humility.
This man is a victor, while I've been defeated. My entire community opposed him for years, but look how he lowers himself on dust.
The wise Safiyah did not step on the Prophet's thigh, but kneeled before him. So the Prophet picked her up. Now she was on the throne.
If you can have no will of yourself and submit, then you will be raised and carried by God.
Some wives of the Prophet later on in Medina started abusing the poor Safiyah.
You're a Jewish girl. You are no good. Your people mistreated the prophets of God.
She complained to the Prophet, who comforted her and taught her words to respond to them.
My father is Aaron. My uncle is Moses. My husband is Muhammad. What more do you want? I've been honored by God twice in a row by things He gave me and those He took away. My loss was a gain, like all other loss. It was needed for me to be guided to faith, and that is the greatest honor I have. He always gives and never takes away, though some of His gifts come in disguise. He's purely merciful in whatever He does. His vengeance and wrath are only a show. He does not destroy anyone or deprive. He's there not to kill, He's there to revive.
Safiyah became a lover of Muhammad, for even his war was out of affection. She embraced Islam through the Prophet's demeanor and was honored by God when she humbled herself. She's praised in the Quran as the mother of the believers. Muslims are blessed, for their mother is the best, for whom the Prophet lowered himself and whom he saw fit to be his spouse. Thus, every Muslim is proudly a Jew, and the bond of faith is stronger than blood. If the Jews were outsiders, the Prophet would not have liberated them and married with them. He wasn't just compassionate to the believers in him, but to everyone because he was sent to them all. If they're hostile to you, you must be smart. Take out the sharpest sword in the world.
You can conquer their castle and land with steel, but to master the hearts, you must be genteel. You can break the strongest resistance with the sword of compassion and tolerance for the sake of the Lord. The closest people to Abraham are those who accept his message and follow his way. If you think you're the chosen people of God, then act like him. Look at the sun. He makes it shine on sinner and saint without discrimination, but out of compassion.
Are you open and loving to others as the prophets? Whether Muslim or Jew, or neither of the two. What matters is whether you act out of oneness, to not see the other as an object to possess, but a divine reflection and your own extension.
We're all from the earth, and the earth is our end. We belong to God, and to God will return.
Let your honor be destroyed, for there is no honor at the end of the day when you are lowered in the grave.
Straight is the gate, so humble yourself. There's no place for the ego in the kingdom of truth. And if you gain the upper hand over anyone, thank God for it by forgiving the defeated.